You're listening to Parasearch UK Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch UK Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised. You're listening to the Dark Nights Paranormal Show with your hosts Kerry Greenaway and Mark Manley, right here on Parasearch UK Radio.
And good evening and welcome to the newly named Dark Mirror Show, which was formerly the Dark Night Show, with myself, Mark Manley, and my beautiful co-host, Kerry Greenaway. Kerry!
Good evening.
I am, and tonight we are going to talk about spontaneous human combustion, which is a bit of a hot topic.
It is a hot topic.
How are you? You alright?
Yeah, I'm really well, thank you.
Right, okay. Well, where do you want to start with this topic?
Well, why don't we start with roughly what it's supposed to be? Let's start right at the beginning of what it's actually supposed to be.
Basically, SHC, or spontaneous human combustion, is supposed to be... there's lots of different theories for it. The main one is cells in your body basically igniting or interacting with each other and then just igniting and causing a big kaboom, kerfuffle, and flames, and birdie, you burn up, but nothing else burns, just you.
Yeah, it's really...
Long story short.
It's a really interesting theory, and it's not a proven natural occurrence, though, is it?
No, it's not. They're the fire service and people like that say it's not real, but there's the odd member of the professional services who say actually there's something there, and scientists are starting to look into it now because there's been documented cases of this since I think it was the 17th century, and there's been word of mouth about it since about the 15th century. So, and there has been I think 2 cases of it actually happening in front of somebody, and there's been a case of somebody surviving as well, which we'll get onto a bit later.
Yeah, I mean we've looked into this quite extensively between us, haven't we?
Yeah, definitely.
And we found quite a lot of information.
Right there.
Right, why don't you go to the very, very first documented case, the Drunken Knight.
Drunken Knight. That sounds like a good time had by all.
It was. Do you want me to do it?
Yeah, I'm just going through my things, and I think your stuff's a different way round to mine.
Yeah. Well, the first mention of spontaneous human combustion in the history books is a guy called Paulinus. Now, he was allegedly a regular Italian knight in the late 1400s, and as normal knights of the day, he liked his wine, women and song. And on this particular evening, he had consumed 2 ladles of very strong wine one night. I like the way
ladles?
I know, ladles. I like that. It's like very strong wine. It's not just like a regular wine. He had very, very strong wine.
He had some wine, didn't he?
Apparently it disagreed with him. I'm laughing. It's inappropriate humour again. And it disagreed with him because people say that he immediately vomited flame.
What that was a Club 1830 holiday. He had a flaming sambuca and set fire to his moustache.
And then apparently he burst into flames entirely. But nobody else seemed to have a problem with this wine. And people were a little baffled. They were a little baffled as to how this could have happened.
Does it say if the flames came from within or just cover him?
No, it just says that he vomited flame and then he burst into flames entirely.
Personally, it sounds like somebody dunked him in the brandy.
Wow. They're still baffled now. This happened in the 1400s, and there's some baffled spirits out there going, I still don't know how good old Polynus burst into flames.
Did you just say baffled spirits?
Baffled spirits, I did. Did you like that?
Seeing as we're paranormal investigators, I've got to give you the badumps.
Oh my goodness. Oh, you've got to love it. Now, there is a link with this, but the reason that we mention this particular case to start with is because alcohol is supposed to be quite linked to spontaneous human combustion, isn't it?
It's supposed to be, yeah, but see, coming from an Irish family where, I'm not saying they're drunk, but a lot of the time it's Jesus, you'll have a drink. I'm not sure about the alcohol link as well. They do reckon that when it goes inside, because the only thing that's flammable on alcohol is actually the vapours. Alcohol itself is flammable. So if it's inside your stomach, you're not going to have the vapours coming off, because the vapours have got to have the oxygen to make the vapours come off. So, and as that's the only flammable bit, I don't see how that can interact with certain cells within your body and make it go boom.
The problem is with spontaneous human combustion, or SHC for short, SHC even, is
Get it right.
All of the theories are kind of, you go around in circles with it. You can't ever find a true cause. That's why it's unexplained, and that's why we're talking about it tonight, because it's a very strange thing. There's lots and lots of different theories out there as to why somebody spontaneously combusts, and there's lots of theories as to why they spontaneously combust. So we're going to talk a little bit.
You managed to say that without spitting your teeth everywhere.
I know. I'm going to be falling over my words on this one, I think. Now, we're going to talk about a little bit of the theories behind it to start with. Do you think? Should we go there?
I'm looking at some of them now, and some of them just look ridiculous. But, yeah, we'll go into that.
Okay, let's go with the furthest fetched ones. I'd love a furthest fetched one to start with. How about divine intervention?
Oh, what, for being a drinker?
Uh-huh.
Okay, go on then.
Okay, well, centuries ago, people felt that the explosion from within was a sign from God of punishment. It's a sign of God.
Well, you do drink like a fish, so, you should be...
I should be spontaneously combusting most weekends, do you not think?
Yeah.
If that was true, then there would be spontaneous human combustion everywhere.
If that was true, there'd be quite a few nightclubs that I've been in that would just be burnt to the ground,
Well, no, because one of the things of spontaneous human combustion is the fact that only the body seems to burn. It doesn't burn like a room down or a house down. It sort of doesn't just start with the body. It starts and finishes with the body, should I say. And I'm sure you all have seen those photographs where you've got the charred remains of completely incinerated bodies, but there's like an extremity that's been left, like a hand or a foot. I think there's a very famous photograph. It's such a shame we can't post photographs into the link, but then some of them are quite graphic, so maybe that's probably a good idea not to do that. Now,
well, that's all that's going to be left of me when I go, either a hand or a foot, isn't it?
Okay.
I've got a metal-legged too.
I know you have. I know. I never know how to react to that.
They'd never be able to cremate it, would they? They'd just be this one leg stood up going, no, sod you all, because it's made out of Kevlar and everything, so that'd be hilarious. Anyway.
Okay. Okay, so, we're talking theories. How about flammable body fat? Many victims have been overweight, but some have been skinny, so that doesn't really put any credence onto that, does it?
There was that little old lady who unfortunately succumbed to SHC, and all that was left of her was 1 foot in a dolly shoe and a bit of an ankle. And she was only a little tiny thing. She was in a chair, and most of the chair was left. It was only burnt where she was. You know,
and this is
she
what
was
makes
tiny
it so
little thing.
interesting.
Tiny little thing, didn't drink. I wouldn't have thought and pissed God off enough to, annoyed God enough to, my apologies, to incur his wrath like that. So, you know, that's another one of my thing is alcohol, because there's a theory that alcohol mixed with body fat equals boom. I just don't get it. I don't believe it.
Okay. Build up of static electricity.
That would explain the funky hairdos of the 70s.
Well, yeah, that's true. But I don't think that there's any form of electrical static... Oh, God, sorry, guys. The electrical static discharge...
Spit it out!
Honestly, I'm going to be falling over my words tonight. I do apologise. Could cause a person to burst into flames. I just don't think that there would be enough of a charge to create that big a spark that would start...
Ladies and gentlemen, as you can probably hear, we're doing an experiment tonight live on the Dark Mirror Show. Kerry's actually consumed vast amounts of alcohol and is currently trying to build up a static electrical charge by rubbing her carpet slippers on the rug underneath her.
I'm trying to prove a theory
in the
here.
middle of the show. You know what to do.
And we'll see if I spontaneously combust before the end of the show. I think Mark sometimes hopes that I will.
He says, looking over his shoulder and up at the ceiling, whatever gives you that idea?
I haven't drunk anything. I would just like to point that out. That's later. I have my bottle of wine chilling. Right, an explosive combination of chemicals that can form in the digestive system due to a poor diet. What do we think of that one?
Again, basically farting yourself to death. I can tell you one real thing that happened, though. There was a gentleman in America who was very, very obese. I can't remember his name, but he went on cabbage and bean diet to lose the weight. And the unfortunate side effect of the cabbage and bean diet was, well, he made the local cows in the local dairy go, whoa, who the hell did that, you know? And he actually gassed himself to death with his own natural methane. And that's a true story. But I've never heard of anybody farting so hard that they've blown up. In fact, they tried to do that on Mythbusters, that one.
Did
and
they?
It was proved it was rubbish.
Oh.
So,
okay.
You know, yeah, they proved it. It was absolute waffle.
Well, I have a very scientific explanation about this one.
Go on, then.
Do you want me to? I'm going to read this, and I do apologise for any of my pronunciations of these words. There is one flammable constituent of the body that can greatly increase in concentration. Triglycerol lipids cleave to form fatty acid chains and glycerol. The fatty acids can be used as an alternative source of energy through beta oxidization, giving rise to the key metabolic molecular acetyl-CoA. This helps drive the energy-producing Krebs cycle within the mitochondrial of cells, which could cause a nuclear reaction within the gut that causes an internal combustion.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kerry Greenaway, she got there.
Boom! I've been practicing that.
I apologise to anybody who's actually in the room. Due to having to reset my computer, I can't actually log in at the moment and respond to people in the room or anything. So I'm literally just got my notes on my tablet in front of me, and I'm silently swearing at my laptop at the moment. So,
and he is. I can see him. He's absolutely swearing and gesticulating at his computer as we speak.
Yes.
Now, there's been no satisfactory explanation of spontaneous human combustion. And it is an unsolved mystery, that is for sure. There are certain aspects of spontaneous human combustion, though, aren't there? There are, certain, what's the word?
common
Key
factors.
points. There are key points.
So I don't know, because I've looked at a lot of these cases, and, you know, they're talking about... There's some of them. Some people are on antibiotics. Some people are on antidepressants. Some people had a drink. Some people had done nothing. Some people were fat. Some people were thin. There doesn't seem to be really much common factor apart from one thing. They think loneliness and depression is a key factor in it for some reason. Whether that produces different type of compound in your body, hormone, whatever, I don't know. But they do think that that is the only common factor, but they think it has a lot to do with it.
They do, don't they? There is a theory which I don't really buy into myself, in all honesty, about depression and low things, apparently. I'm just trying to... I wrote about this. I know I wrote about this. Oh, I've done so much. It's
I just got into the room.
Okay, sorry. Some form of emotional affliction leading to a negative state of mind. This can affect the victim's metabolism to such an extent that phosphagens, such as B10, build up in their muscle tissue. Phosphagen is not unlike nitroglycerine, which is extremely explosive. Then electricity generated by intense sunspots, electrical or magnetic storms, and electrical energy created by geological activity could trigger the combustion.
So basically, if you're fat, lonely, and wear a shell suit, you're knackered. That's it. Your time's up.
Well, apparently so, according to some of the information. I mean, honestly, when I was looking through this, there were so many different theories and so many different ways of looking at it. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, and again, I've got a very scientific explanation. Would you like me to read this one? I tell you, I've been practicing these. I'm so excited because I've been practicing these.
Sit back going, what?
If the body cells are starved, which can occur during chronic illness and even during a workout at the gym, this is another good reason not to work out at the gym. I just like to put that out there. Acetyl CoA in the liver is converted into acetoacetate, which can decarboxylate into acetone, and acetone is highly flammable. A range of conditions can produce ketosis in which acetone is formed, including alcoholism, high-fat, low-carbohydrate dieting, diabetes, and even teething.
Really?
Well, yeah.
I know they have terrible farts when they're babies.
If this was the case, if that was the case, then spontaneous human combustion would be... They're laughing in the chat room because they all sound so ludicrous, don't they?
Yeah.
But it's... These are theories. These are all theories that have come out about it.
Basically what that's trying to say is you're going to be there rocking the baby, trying to bring the wind up and either... there goes your
spontaneously
IKEA
combusts.
item, or one poop and poof, the baby's out the window like a cannon.
Wow, I have to say, I think that's pretty far-fetched. Do you not think?
I do. It's like Paul Rook, I see, has just said, I just think it's bang and loneliness and depression. Oh well, I'm just going to go and explode then. Ha ha. You're all right, Paul. You don't wear shell suits. You're all right.
Yeah, I don't think he wears a lot, actually.
Oh, please. That's my friend and my boss. I eat my dinner.
Sorry.
Really don't want to think about his nether region spontaneously combusting.
Right, now, there are, like I say, certain things that highlight the fact of spontaneous human combustion. The burns are not distributed evenly over the body. The extremities are usually untouched by fire, whereas the torso usually suffers severe burning. But if that's the case, and all those chemical reaction-y type explanations all start basically in the digestive tract, don't they?
Yeah, that I can understand.
In the torso. So I can understand why they sort of looked at that, can't you?
Mm-hmm. Like, as I say, you've got all the bacteria and good bacteria and bad bacteria and everything else in there, which I can understand that. I mean, there's it's been banned in Tibet now, but there was a form of self-mummification that the monks used to perform, where they would eat nothing but tree bark and tree sap because it killed all the bacteria in their body, so that when they did pass, there was nothing to dissolve, eat away at the body or rot it, so stay preserved. If that stuff that's inside your gut and that is that bad, possibly that may be something to do with reacting with something else to cause the combustion. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think so. Because I think if that was the case, then there'll be a lot more cases of it.
I see. I think there is definitely something there, purely because of the peculiar factor that, it's literally the body that goes, and as you say, all that's left are extremities, like a hand or a leg or something like that. But the rest of the furniture, the house doesn't burn down. Nothing else is burned apart from the immediate area where the person is.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So it's a tiny, tiny bit odd. Shall I talk about the most recent case?
Yeah, you can do, actually.
There was an Irish person, I think it was last year or the year before, but anyway.
2010.
Or it could have been 2010. Thank you.
It was 2010.
People found the body of an elderly man lying with his head near the furnace of his apartment, or house, I would have thought. Coroners determined, though, that the furnace was not the source of the conflagration, nor was there any accelerant on the body, nor was there any evidence of foul play. And this case was typical of SHC in that there were burn marks on the floor and ceiling directly below and above the body, but no other burn marks were found anywhere in the room.
I know. And it was actually put down as the coroner as a spontaneous human combustion, wasn't it?
Yeah,
because they couldn't offer any other explanation.
Yeah, exactly. The coroner went, Jesus, I'm going down your poor. Put it down as a SHC, that'll do. Yeah.
I love your accents.
Thank you.
That's okay. See, I complimented you then.
You did. It makes a change.
But he was sat near a fire.
Yeah, but it doesn't say whether the furnace was on or off. And to be absolutely honest, if he'd fallen into the furnace, it would have started on his top half, and it would have taken the rest of the house with him. It wouldn't have been just the body and then immediately above and immediately below.
Well,
if you've got it immediately above and immediately below, that suggests the heat source coming out as a spike above and below.
What about an ember or a flame hitting him sort of like around his... If he sat in a chair by a fire and a spark pops out and lands on him or the victim, because that's another factor. There's always a candle or a sitting by a fireplace or an oil lamp in one of them, wasn't there, that we found? There's always been that ignition point.
No, that is true. But as I say, it all comes back to that one factor, that every single case of it, nothing else is burnt. It's just a little bit immediately above, immediately below, nothing else is burnt. If it was a factor of an ember or a spark coming off, I used to have an open fire when I lived in Somerset, and I can remember if we didn't have that guard on, the amount of sparks that would fly out and hit the carpet and stuff, So the fact that it's just one bit above, below, that's it. That's what I find totally bizarre about everything. Aliens! That's what it is. It's aliens.
Oh, you've ruined my end theory there.
Set fire to people's toothpaste. That's the end of it.
You've just ruined my end theory.
What were you going to say? Aliens?
Well, I spoke to a fire chief this week about spontaneous human combustion. Was it somebody dressed
as a fire chief?
No. I actually went to a fire station and I sat down with him and he was like, "What can I do for you, miss?" And I was like, I need to talk to you about something that's a little bit strange. And he said, okay, fire away.
You weren't talking to him about wands then?
And I went, spontaneous human combustion. And he started laughing.
Yeah.
And then when he stopped laughing, he went, doesn't exist. And I went, okay, let's take the theory that it might possibly exist, rather than just dismissing it out of hand. And he went, no, there's no point, because it doesn't exist. Typical fireman. I have to say, he was lovely in the end once he stopped laughing at me. And he said that fire, let's look at fire. A fire needs 4 factors. It needs fuel, which is basically any substance that can undergo combustion. It needs heat, energy sufficient to release vapour from fuel and causes ignition. Okay. It also needs an oxidising agent. Oh, it all got very technical. I have to say, in his office, it got incredibly technical, which is air containing oxygen, and an uninhibited chemical reaction, sufficient reaction energy to produce ignition. The fuel-air ratio must be within flammable limits to propagate flames. And if you remove any one of these 4 factors, this will then prevent, suppress, or control fire.
That's what I thought, but it all comes down to every single theory and every single thing that could be put down as to the cause of the fire. When you read the cases in depth, 9 out of 10 of them, there's no other explanation. There's been no factors, no put my teeth back in, no oxidization, no oxygen from a chimney, no fire triangle. It really just comes down to what on earth happened here. It wasn't somebody deciding, do you know what, I'm going to have a quiet, crafty Bob Marley whilst nobody's around, getting a blind burn, setting fire to themselves. It's whole body gone, 1 foot, 1 finger, 1 hand, bit like me, left there, everything else left intact.
Yeah, so, it is very strange. I mean, he was very, very adamant that there is no such thing. That there, from a professional, I suppose you would look at it, point of view, in his experience, that it's a complete impossibility. There is an explanation. However, what's the old Sherlock Holmes one? Once you I think it might have been a Jonathan Creek. Actually, I think it might have been a Jonathan Creek. No matter how improbable, if you take out, I don't know. If you take out
away
all
the probable, no matter whatever's left, no matter how improbable, must be the cause.
Thank you very much. See, I kind of knew which I was going with that. Right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back after the break, and we're going to talk about a little bit more about this spontaneous human combustion.
You're going to have some more wine, love.
I'm not drinking. Goodness.
You're listening to Parasearch UK Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio.
Join Kerry Greenaway and Jay Lynch for the Parasearch UK radio show as they share their paranormal news, views and reviews from the UK and the USA with the help of guests from both sides of the pond. Will they agree or agree to disagree? Find out every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, right here on Paramania Radio. You're listening to the Dark Nights Paranormal Show with your hosts, Kerry Greenaway and Mark Manley, right here on Parasearch UK Radio.
And 3, 2, 1, we're back in the room. So, whilst the break was on, Kerry was telling me an interesting thing about a pig in a blanket, and we are not talking what we have at roast dinners, are we?
No, we're not. This is a thing called the Wick effect. Now,
John Wick.
The Wick effect. Now, Dr. John DeHaan of the Californian Criminalistic Institute wrapped a dead pig in a blanket, and he poured a small amount of gasoline on the blanket and he ignited it. And even the bones were destroyed after 5 hours of continuous burning. And that is one of the symbols of spontaneous human combustion, is that even the bones get incinerated. Right. Now, if you go to a crematorium, not just go to, if you die and you're cremated, then it's about 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, isn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, to reduce the body to ash. But even then, some of the bones are left and they have to actually crumble them up by hand. I don't know if you knew that little fact. I didn't, and now I do, and I can't get that mental image out of my head. I actually
did. It's a bit like a pestle and mortar, but yeah.
So, it takes quite a while to do that. And to say this pig took 5 hours of continuous burning. Now, the fat content of a pig is very similar to the fat content of a human being, which is why they used a pig. Now, the damage to the pig, according to Dr. DeHaan, or Hahn, that's interesting, it's exactly the same as that from supposed spontaneous human combustion. Now, this was also featured on a television series, CSI.
That's right, yeah. So I was just reading your notes here about that.
I know.
I reckon if they closed the door so that there wasn't a draft coming in to help it, it would have smouldered away and been identical to the old lady who passed away.
Yeah, because they did try to recreate it, but the recreation of that experiment was flawed, fundamentally flawed, because they left the door open. And, you know, if you're going to recreate an experiment, surely you have to create it under exactly the same circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, leaving the door open, you're adding oxygen to the fire, so... I mean, to be absolutely fair, I mean, I practiced experiments with SHC every now and again, generally as a rule when I'm trying to cook a roast chicken or something, but not sure if that's just bad cooking or what. But anyway, I digress.
Well, the failed attempt to duplicate this burning pig experiment, well, it just ignited everything. I mean, it just shows you the oxygen levels obviously raised it, and it actually, you know... consumed the entire room rather than just the pig, which is what they were trying to achieve. Now, the only significant fuel source was tends to be the individual's clothing, isn't it?
That's right. I'm just looking here. The same gentleman, he ignited scale models of humans made from pork tissue, marinated in acetone and fully clothed. The models burned to ash within half an hour. The remains that were left were a pile of smoking cinders with protruding limbs, exactly like the photographs of SHC victims.
Yeah.
So, sounds like we're getting a bit closer to the truth here.
Well, I think this is out of all the theories we read about, even down to, oh my goodness, there were some really strange ones. It kind of made more sense, didn't it?
Well, it does, but I mean, there's a few things here, like Jean-Lucille Safin, 61-year-old mentally handicapped woman, burst into flames in her kitchen. The father, who was seated at a nearby table, said he saw a flash of light out the corner of his eye and turned to find she was enveloped in flames, mainly around her face and hands. The fire was put out with water by Mr. Safin and his son-in-law, and no cause of the fire was found. Does this qualify as a case of SHC or not?
Well, it should do, because that's one of the key points of SHC is it's an internal combustion.
But this says face and hands, so I mean, was she handling something that she shouldn't have been handling before she came into the kitchen? I don't know.
Well, my handy fire chief said that there is a huge possibility that if you use a petroleum-based lotion...
What, like, I don't know, Vaseline or KY jelly or something?
A petroleum-based lotion.
Vaseline, everybody! You know she means it. I know she means it. Do carry on, Kerry.
Petroleum-based... Oh my God, you just keep me going off topic all the time. A petroleum-based lotion, then that is a really, really remotely possibility, but he would, I mean, honest to God, remote was the word. He was like, he couldn't have made it more clear that possibility was so like 0.00001% of a possibility. Do you know what I mean? He really, really was loath to put that theory, an agreeance to that theory. He really was. Oh mate, I talked about alcoholic fumes on breath and everything, and he was like, nah. It's so funny.
You've got a fan out there. Kayla says, ha, poor Kerry. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I've used Vaseline quite a few times in the past.
Have you ever spontaneously combusted?
Well, it's always been before anybody thinks, aye, it's after I've had my tattoos done, and I put Vaseline on it to protect it for and although they do get stupidly hot, nothing's ever burnt up.
No. This, honestly, it's very, very strange. It is incredibly strange.
Well, I mean, do you want me to talk about Helen Conway?
Yeah, go on then. Tell us about Helen. Poor old Helen.
She was an elderly, infirm woman who was a heavy and careless smoker. So I'm just putting in all the facts and everything with it as well. There were many cigarette burns in her room. She burnt up while sitting in an upholstered chair in her bedroom, and that's it's that picture, isn't it? It's the famous picture of literally just a pair of legs and nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not very nice, but yeah. Yeah, she burned up while sitting in an upholstered chair in her bedroom. Why is this considered to be SHC? Well, the fire chief said that's what he believed. He also said it only took 21 minutes for her to burn, and if it did, the wick effect would not account for how she burnt. Since they can't figure out how Conway burnt up in such a short time, both Arnold and Milton concluded it was probably SHC. They reckon that the fire may have begun at the base of the body and burned straight upwards. That's what I was on about when I said about the flame vortex is going boom, straight up, so you just got the burn above and the burn below. You've got that in common with it. Straight upward, fed by the fat in her torso. That's cheeky, and may have thus been a much more intense fire, not unlike grease. So if you got greasy hair, you're knackered. If you're tubby, you're knackered.
If you drink alcohol or you're an alcoholic, you're knackered.
Oh, that's you up the creek there, Kerry.
Oh, I know. Oh, my God. Let's not even talk about the diet factor. Okay. Now, this first ever came into mainstream through a couple of writers. They read a book that somebody had written, and it basically caught their imagination, and it started off in the Penny Dreadfuls, good old Penny Dreadfuls. You've got to love the Victorians, you've got to love them, haven't you?
Oh, they had a very... Well, it was all the repressed sexual innuendo and everything else they had. Oh, damn it, Marjorie, please dress up as the vicar tonight. No, I'll write a Gothic novel then. So, yeah.
I love your take on history.
It's true!
Now, two
Victorians
authors
were highly, highly repressed. That's why most Victorian males had a mistress, didn't they? Because it was such a prudish society, they couldn't do what they wanted. They couldn't turn around to their missus and say, "Do you know what, Marjorie? Get the gimp suit out. We'll have a bit." You know, he'd be like, "Oh dear, assume the position. It's that time of year again." And then if he wanted anything a bit out of the norm, he'd go and see his mistress.
Anyway.
It is absolutely true.
Right, two main, quite well-known authors actually used spontaneous human combustion in their writing. Now, the first of these two authors was a guy called Captain Marryat, who in his novel Jacob Faithful borrowed details from a report in the Times of London in 1832 to describe the death of his lead character's mother, who is reduced to a sort of pitchy cinder.
So, a stain on the carpet, basically.
Well, again, that's another facet of spontaneous human combustion, is that it
What
leaves...
was that word?
Facet.
Oh, good. Carry on.
Can I carry on?
Yes,
Okay.
by all means.
It's another facet of spontaneous human combustion, where it leaves like this sooty, gooey residue of the body. It's not actually ash. It's almost like a gooey, residue, oily...
Yeah, that's down to the fats and everything.
Yucky thing.
Any other descriptive words?
No, I was searching the memory banks for some more descriptions.
Globule.
Now, and a globule. Another one, guys, you're going to know this one. Charles Dickens used SHC as the cause of death of a heavy drinker in his novel in 1852. Now, this fueled the popular belief that excessive drinking led to SHC. Now, he was heavily criticised... Pardon?
What was the novel called?
The novel... What was it called? Bleak House?
Bleak House, wasn't it?
It was Bleak House, yeah, sorry. I do know that. But he was heavily... I did know that. He was heavily criticised for this, encouraging this kind of nonsense, wasn't he?
I'm just reading about that. Yeah, because his death in Bleak House, Crook was the character, was directly modelled on the details of the death of the Countess Cornelia de Bandi Cesanti.
Very good.
By this extraordinary means. The only other cause that Dickens actually cites details from is the Nicole Millett account that inspired DuPont's book about 100 years earlier. So, plagiarism abound.
Oh, you've got to love it, haven't you? A lot of writers do that, though. Now, let's talk about the Countess.
Okay.
Should we talk about the Countess? Because this was quite interesting.
Yeah, go for it.
This is in 1731.
I'm shutting up.
Oh, right,
you carry
okay,
on
sorry, I thought...
You carry on chinking your glasses there, a quick crafty glug of wine there.
It's a bottle of water.
I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, she's a stickler for the conditions for her experiment into SHC there.
Honestly, you really do make me sound like an absolute wino.
I tell you what you're talking about.
You're the Irish one.
Excuse me? What's that supposed to mean?
You like a tipple.
I like a what?
Tipple.
Oh, tipple. Right, yes.
Anyway, let's talk about the Countess. Now, this was a 62-year-old, I'm not going to say her name because I can't say this name. Countess. We're just going to call her the Countess.
Cornelia de Bandi of Sisana.
Very good. I'm impressed. She was found on the floor of her bedroom by her maid. The Countess had been described as being heavy and dull the night previous, and she had last been seen by her maid. They had talked for 3 hours. Then she said her prayers, gone to sleep. The maid shut the door, and then that was it until the morning. Now, she didn't arise at her usual hour. The maid entered the room, didn't answer her calls, and then when she discovered the Countess, she found her mortal remains on the floor of the room. Now, she had been reduced to a circle of ashes, 3 blackened fingers, 2 stockinged legs from about the knee down, and on the floor between the legs, a large calcinated portion of her skull, which was missing the back, the chin, and the brain. The ashes had left a greasy and stinking moisture on the skin when they picked up these pieces. The air in the room was full of soot, yet the Countess's bed with the covers raised up on one side showed the Countess had calmly risen from it, and it was unburnt. A small oil lamp on the floor nearby was covered by ashes from the Countess's body and was empty of oil. So that could be your fuel. That's what's, Accelerant,
yeah.
That's it. Accelerant, thank you. On a table in the room, 2 candles had completely melted and lost their tallow, just leaving unburned wicks behind. All the furniture in the room was cut. That suggests there was a really lot of heat, but if it didn't burn the wicks... If it didn't burn the wicks, it means that the candles weren't alight. Okay?
No, but it does mean that there was it's a bit like when I take my T-shirt off in the room in the summertime. Everything just melts, Yeah.
That's because you're such hot stuff.
Exactly. I was waiting for that. But
yeah, you gotta love it, haven't you? All the furniture in the room was covered with a moist soot, which had even penetrated a chest of drawers. Soot covered mostly everything, basically. Oh, I love this bit of this story. A piece of bread that had been covered with this soot was offered to the dogs, who refused to eat it.
They all went, no, stuff that.
And the Countess's bedroom had a stinking, greasy, yellowish fluid trickling down the lower part of the windows.
See, to me, I think this all comes... And when they talk about the globules and the moist stuff and this, that, and the other, it also, to me, it's the fat. That seems to be the thing, is some remnant of the fat is left in some form. You got like the gaseous form, the liquid form, or the whatever the other form is. I can't remember, but it seems to me that it's all to do with the fat as the accelerant. Something causes the initial heat and spark, and then because we've all got a bit of fat on us, that carries on.
Yeah.
And it still doesn't explain how you get the heat in the one spot that goes up and down, doesn't spread anywhere else. If it's that hot to melt the candles, why didn't it burn anything?
I know, it's incredible. Now, they actually, the first theory that they proposed to explain this baffling circumstance of her death was that the Countess was on the way to the window and had been struck by a lightning bolt.
But that wouldn't explain the lamp fuel not being there. The only thing I could say about lamp fuel, if the heat was so intense, sometimes it could get vaporised. But if that's the case, because it melted the candles as well, why didn't it burn anything else?
Well, how about this? It come in, struck her, she fell back, full of buzzing, lightning, energy stuff, and then fell onto the oil lamp. I know, technical terms there, guys. Did you enjoy that? All the scientists in the room are probably going, oh my God, what is she talking about? Fell onto the oil lamp. That was the ignition point. And because she was already, her clothes then caught, and then, I don't know, I don't know. I mean, geomagnetic forces are one of the apparently, allegedly, a high number of SHC cases have been linked to high levels of geomagnetic forces in the Earth.
Can you say that again?
A high level of SHC cases have been linked to high levels of geomagnetic forces in the Earth's crust.
Give it a round of applause! Yay!
Honestly, I've been struggling with this subject for weeks.
Shall I? There's a couple of other cases I'd like to talk about.
Go on then.
And there's also the guy who survived as well. There was 2 disappearances. Janette Kazimievsky lived with her husband and son in France in the 70s. When her husband disappeared mysteriously, Jeanette contacted the authorities to try and find him. They couldn't find anything. And a few days later, while her son was out with some friends, a neighbour found Jeanette's body, apart from her legs, reduced to ash in an otherwise unfurnished apartment. The fire inside was another one. In 1967, a passenger bus in England noticed blue flames. Let me start again. A passenger on a bus in England noticed blue flames in the window of an apartment building hallway. She thought it was a gas jet and called the fire brigade. When they got to the place, they supposedly found the body of Robert Francis Bailey. He was a homeless guy, and a fireman reported seeing a slit in the man's abdomen from which blue flames were issuing. Oh, that's bizarre.
Yeah. Most of these cases are pretty bizarre.
Well, let me try. Was this the gentleman I'm thinking of? Jack Angel. Yes. Jack Angel, been hospitalised with severe burns, brought a court case against the manufacturer of his hot water heater for $3 million. He said he went to check the malfunctioning heater and it blew up and scalded him. However, a doctor noticed that his body had burned from the inside out, not the outside in. So shortly afterwards, he changed his story and said he fell asleep only to wake up with terrible burns all over his body, and sold his story as a survivor of spontaneous human combustion. Is he one of the only rare people to survive SHC?
Yeah.
There's also only one witness case. Do you want me to talk about that?
Yes, please.
Okay. There's only one case of SHC for which there is a witness. Oh no, we spoke about that. That was the mentally disabled lady where the flames coming out of her hands and face.
Yeah, we just think that's a chemical reaction one though, don't we?
I personally think that, yeah. I won't talk about that one because that's a baby and I just don't think that's very nice to do that. It's not a little lad. Jack Angel, we just spoke about him. But anyway, Jack Angel is probably the most well-known survivor of SHC, when in fact he never experienced SHC, nor did he claim to. On November the 12th, 1974, Jack Angel was taking a shower in his mobile home in Savannah. Trailer park girls go round the outside. Savannah, yeah, it's mighty hot out there today. Have a mint julep on the porch. Anyway, when the water suddenly stopped flowing, and he went to check the water pressure, he was sprayed with scalding hot water. He then filed a civil action suit in Fulton County Superior Court over the burns which he received after being sprayed by the faulty water tank. It's a suing culture, isn't it? Somehow the accounts of his run-of-the-mill lawsuit has morphed into a widely false story of surviving SHC. So in other words, it was a load of rubbish. That Fred Baker one, I did have a photograph of him, and that's supposed to have actually been a real SHC case that he did survive from. There's quite a few things. And there's another one here. I'm not going to read too many details about this one. Let's just say there was a young lad in India who made headlines when his mother admitted him to a local hospital to seek treatment for his burns, which he claimed were caused by SHC. Mm-hmm. The child was discovered lying in his bed on fire by a neighbour who heard the screams. And a professor had believed that his burns may have been caused by gases expelling through his skin and theorised it may actually be a genetic condition. So there's another thing. That's another taken theory on SHC. Genetic condition causing gases to seep through your skin. So make of it what you will. I do think that there is... I just looked in the chat room and they're talking about Gallifrey and regeneration and Doctor Who.
Of course they are. Paul Rook's in there.
Oh,
Of
no,
course
they're
they
talking
are.
about Doctor Who.
Of course they are. Paul Rook's in there. Now, I want to just quickly touch on, because we're running out of time again, on Nicole Millet. Now, this is in 1725 in Reims in France, and she was found burnt to death in an unburnt chair. She was the wife of a guy called Jean Millet, the landlord of a called Lion d'Or. Do you like my French accent, guys?
Yes.
You like it? Anyway, he was
Oui.
arrested. He was arrested and accused of murdering his wife and burning the corpse. Presumably to cavort with pretty young ladies who worked for him. Now, he was acquitted at a trial. This went to trial, and he was acquitted at trial when a young surgeon named Nicholas Lecat convinced the court that the death of Nicole Millet was a fine example of spontaneous human combustion. The final verdict in the case was that Nicole Millet had died by a visitation by God. Of God. By God. Well, God came and visited her and decided to burn her.
Of God. This, ladies and gentlemen, is why you don't do drugs. Okay, kids?
Oh, I've been called many names tonight. Honestly.
Well, that's like Joan of Arc, wasn't it? You know, it seemed to be that, you know, the French, no offence to the French, but the French seem to be visited by God telling them to do things. And now this one, God's come down and gone, you know what, you didn't do it. Boom, I smite you and put them in flames.
Well, I think the burning thing is quite common across Europe, really.
Well, when you said Nicholas Lecat, Lilo, one of the paranormal cats, actually went and looked at the camera. So, yeah, that's why.
Aww. You gotta love a paranormal cat.
Well, we have Lilo and Stitch, the paranormal cats, and we have Patch, the paranormal pooch. And in fact, we haven't heard the Hound of the Baskervilles at your place.
We do. He's been very quiet so far.
Lummy, have you duct taped his mouth again?
Let's not poke the beast.
I'd rather not, because I like Paul, but I don't like him that way.
Anyway, Lecat wasn't particularly a well-known surgeon at the time, but this case actually made him quite well-known, and because of the legal proceedings of this case. So I think with this one, I think you have to sort of look at a bit of personal intentions. He made a name for himself. Name-making. He made a name for himself through this case, didn't he?
Well, his name, you know, Monsieur Lecat, Monsieur Le Pepe Le Pew.
But apparently, again, Mrs. Millet was a woman who got intoxicated every day. So there's that.
Is she a relation of yours?
I don't get intoxicated every day. Oh my God, will you please stop saying I do?
Stop speaking in tongues, it's the alcohol, woman!
Now I'm going to talk to you about her injuries. She had been reduced to a pile of ashes, a section of intestines and a portion of her head and lower extremities had escaped from the burning, but the floor under the remains had been consumed as well. But a kneading trough and a powdering tub nearby were undamaged, and the body was found 1.5 feet away from the kitchen hearth.
See, that thing we were talking about earlier about the embers and things, I know that down in Somerset, where I used to live, there was a house over on the Chard Marshes that used to be there, and it's all been knocked down. That there was a girl there that actually burnt to death in the 17th century. All her family had gone out, they were working the farm, and this little girl was left there, and the ashes from the fire sparked and caught her smock, and according to the reports and everything, the flames where she burnt, it was almost identical. The flames burnt straight up. Well, that was because of the material of the smock, and it was the middle of summer and everything. Why they had the fire on, I don't know. But the flames burnt straight up and straight down. And, you know, unfortunately, there was only a little bit of her left. And I can remember that, reading up about that one, I was quite shocked. So it's, I think it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. I think there may possibly be something, a little bit out of every single theory that could be spot on, and mix it all together and you might get the truth.
Yeah, I did speak to Ashley Nibb about this, about spontaneous human combustion.
Yeah.
Our scientific brain that pops into our chat room.
I'm looking, Ashley's in the room now.
Oh, okay. Right,
There is,
his theory.
Yeah.
Ashley's theory was a strong gust of wind blows down into the flame or the fire or the whatever it is, causing an arc of flame towards the victim, and due to the fuel, which would be clothes igniting, it could then start a fire. This could be accelerated by alcoholic fumes or petroleum-based substances or something like that, and then the oxygen in the room is quickly used up, but due to the wind causing a vortex kind of scenario, it remains localised between the fireplace and the person, and then it raises the temperature sufficiently to cause the damage that's required for spontaneous human combustion and burns out just as quickly.
You said it! Yay!
I know. I did say I was going to say his theory, because it was quite a good theory compared to all the other theories we'd read.
No, it's very plausible, actually. Get off there. Sorry, the paranormal cat was just very nearly crossed over to the other side, Dan. Anyway, yeah, I think there are lots and lots and lots, as you know, of different theories, but I do think there's possibly a little bit out of every single thing that could be a factor for the whole, if you see what I mean. Take a little tiny bit and put them all together, and maybe that's what the truth is.
True. Now, of all the theories I came across, our old fancy pants fire chief, love you, thank you so much for talking to me again, came up with, I suppose you're going to ask me next if it was an invisible alien with a ray gun.
Aliens!
I know. And I went, well, I hadn't actually thought of that theory. Hastily wrote it down in my little notebook.
It was the cartoon one, Marvin, the guy from Mars in the Warner Brothers cartoons.
Oh no, I have to say, it was so much fun talking to him. He was so much fun. So I have to thank him. He asked me not to name him.
Yes, Ashley, alien probes, indeed.
But yeah, so and I thought you'd be happy because I brought in that one. And we've come to the end of the show on that note.
Okay. So what are we doing next week then, Kerry?
Well, I'm on the Great Paranormal Debate. And you're doing a UFO specialist with Paul Rook. We're swapping places, aren't we?
That's right, indeed we are. Was it Marvin the Martian? Oh, thank you very much, Ashley. It was. I'm thinking the paranoid android was from Hitchhiker's Guide, wasn't it? Yeah. Yes, I am, because I do like my UFOs and all my weird stuff. So we're going to be doing a bit of that.
Yeah, you are, because I can't really talk about stuff like that. So we've handed the reins over to people that can talk about stuff like that on a more intelligent level than me. Because I just sit there going, oh my God, no, don't know what they're talking about. So that's what we're doing next week. Now, join everybody next week for the shows throughout the week. Tuesday, Paul Rook. Wednesday, Jay and Teresa. Then Thursday, you've got Kerry Ann. And then me and Jay over on Paramania. And then Friday night, you've got the Great Paranormal Debate. And you've got Mark and Paul next week on...
We're doing a gathering again soon as well, aren't we?
Oh, I think we're trying to organise a gathering very soon as well. And on that note, thank you very much for listening. Thank you for joining us in the chat room. We hope you enjoyed the show.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening, guys. Once we've gone off air, I'm going to go and call an ambulance to come round and give Kerry a stomach pump, okay? So you'll be all right.
Yes, and on that note, good night, guys. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
You're listening to Parasearch UK Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio.